Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Life by Design podcast. On this week's episode, I speak with men's coach, Jacob O'Neill. Jacob is a leadership and relationship coach for men, as well as the founder of the Gathering of Men, an Australian-wide men's movement. On this week's episode, expect to learn about plant medicine, being a people pleaser, showing up better as a man, stepping into your power, and much, much more. Enjoy the episode. Now, guys, before we start this week's episode of the podcast, I want to talk to you about the Life by Design Mastermind. The Life by Design Mastermind is the mastermind for go-getters and high achievers who are looking to create a more successful, fulfilling, and balanced life by design. If you're serious about transforming your life, achieving your goals, and living a life on your terms, then the Life by Design is your golden ticket. Head over to the show notes and click on the link for more details about the program. Mr. Jacob O'Neill, welcome to the podcast.
Right on, bro. Stoked to be here.
Good to have you on. We've had a little chat previously about life. It was good, actually. We're due for an in-person catch-up, but we'll talk about that another time. I'm loving the Friday catch-up idea that you've created recently. There's a lot of paths we could go down today, which I'm excited about. But before we do, can you give the guys a 60 to 90 second spiel of who you are and what's got you to where you are today?
Right, bro. Thanks for having me. And yeah, looking forward to that in-person meetup. I know it's going to be a vibe, but for me, bro, I'm pretty much a stock standard Aussie man. I like to think of myself as a very simple person that likes to complicate things with thoughts. So whenever I'm not thinking, I'm normally pretty good. But man, I've been a men's coach for the last 3 years. My whole journey has been about leadership ever since I was fucking born. Whether it was from leading soccer teams through to we got a skate park built for our hometown and running skate comps and being a bit of a mentor for a lot of my younger brother's friends. I've always had this thread of wanting to teach or mentor. So after a bit of a stint in the 9 to 5, I found my way into some more alternative realms of consciousness. And that led me down a path of wanting to do things my own way. And yeah, eventually I started running men's circles and I wound up becoming a men's coach for the last 3 years, which has had me working with men one-on-one in group programs and then leading what I currently have my retreat, which is called the Gathering of Men, which is a big vision piece for me. And man, I spend most of my days in the Gold Coast in nature. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell, bro.
Beautiful. So one of the things that sparked interest in what you just said for me is around your thoughts and potentially getting stuck in them. What's your strategy for either unpacking the thoughts or letting them go these days? Because it's a very common struggle, I guess, for many people, is getting caught in the spiral that is their thoughts. So what are those thoughts that you potentially struggle with and what's your process for moving through them?
My main thoughts that I struggle with are anything to do with self-worth. I'm very good at comparing myself to others. And the core essence of most of my self-worth chat is really just you're a piece of shit. In its essence, it's you can't do this. Who are you to do this? No one's going to come along. You put all your eggs in one basket. This is going to fail. This is going to be the thing that proves everyone right that was judging you. This is going to be everyone's going to say, I told you so. You should have stayed in your hometown. You should never have left. Why'd you ever even try in the first place? All of this very much loud. You shouldn't have had a go. You shouldn't have even tried in the first place. Why are you doing what you do? And the last couple of weeks, bro, that's been pretty loud for me, especially whenever I'm expanding. I think that's pretty natural for most of us, men, women, all humans involved, is that when we expand, that's when the stories want to really, really lug on. And for me, I'm launching my biggest retreat to date, and I've got a vision attached to that. And the failure is the failure talk is loud. I've just got some support in my business with an online business manager, and she's so incredible. But it was such a massive thing for me to ask for help and pay for someone to help me that it's just created this whole narrative of you don't deserve it. And my pattern interrupt, to be honest, I have probably 4 or 5 ways that I do that. I like to run. So running is really important for me. I think running is such an important piece of, it's such a simple tool to use. And it's one of the most natural things we do as humans. It dates back to the fucking dawn of man. we that's the first thing we do after we walk is we run. I fucking love to play music. So just before we jumped on this podcast, I was strumming a few tunes. Like if I just sing whatever is in my fucking head to the chords of G and C, that really helps me just to express it and acknowledge it and accept it and kind of own it and see it for how silly it is. And then the other ways that I do are pretty standard across the personal development space. I don't mind a breathwork session, an ice bath, or a bit of meditation here and there. I fucking love doing menial tasks as well. So something like cleaning the house is really good for my headspace. Chopping wood is incredible, or collecting like wood. Just going into the forest and collecting wood is it feels so innately natural and simple that it takes away all the noise, and I just get into like a rhythm. Normally I end up singing, I'm moving my body. There's like all these things that are common amongst these practices, but yeah, they're really quite often I just need to shift my environment through using one of those pattern interrupts.
It's so interesting. I used to be, I guess I'd say I was quite close to a guy who really struggled with that feeling like a piece of shit, feeling regularly. And I was like, dude, like that's savage. And yesterday, it's interesting how you and I are really in sync at the moment. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But yesterday I had the most debilitating feeling of feeling like a shit human, like just a piece of shit, feeling like a shit human. And the lack of humility that I've had in the past probably meant that I could probably have had a few more of those moments. But it like, I was like, fuck, people feel like this regularly. Like I was like, I am the shittest human. And I had it for the whole day. It gave me the most chronic anxiety. You know, there's a few pieces that I'm moving through, and I'm really opening myself up to feedback that stings pretty hard, but is necessary. Dude, it's debilitating.
Some people live their whole life, like they wake up every day with that, bro. Like that's that, like you said, like for me, it's something that I'm 33 now. I started this journey around 25, 26. So I've been in the arena for about 8 years with this healing self-development process. And I don't think it goes anywhere. I think it's something that's always going to be a challenge that we face. But some people don't have the tools. Some people don't have the relationships that can support them to find these things. And man, I couldn't, I've had mates commit suicide. I've had mates that, relationships have broke down. I've had mates, lose their jobs or their businesses crumble because they haven't been able to take the time to be with themselves. As you probably heard all of those things that I shared as well, my coping mechanisms or my pattern interrupts, my ways to get back on track, all of them are quite a solo practice as well. So solitude is an important piece for men, I believe. But man, I remember one thing that one of my family members actually said to me. He said, because we were talking about mental health, and he's had depression since he was a young kid and all this stuff. And he said, and I was asking him about suicide because I'm very direct and I don't hide from what we're here to fucking talk about. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him about, and he's like, I don't want to kill myself, but I just don't want to feel this pain anymore. And I was like, fuck, that's a really, and he's not a deep thinker, he's not he hasn't done any personal development work. But when he said that, I was like, fuck, I understand people who find themselves choosing that option. I understand people so much deeper. It's not that they don't want to die. It's just that the pain that they're living with is just too much to bear.
I've had one moment like that, which scared me a lot, and similar thing. I think I'd be really interested. I've had a few conversations, but I've never really pulled it apart. I think in hindsight, one thing that led me to those darkest thoughts was like not wanting to feel the pain that I felt and not knowing if it was going to end. Like one of the things that really got me through, and, people will take from it what they want, is like the remembrance of other people that were in a similar boat at some stage. Because I couldn't see light, dude. I could not see light at all. And I thought to myself of like, as cringy as it might be for some people, but like I thought of myself of the Lewis Howes that stayed on his sister's couch for months. I thought of The Rock. I thought of Tony Robbins. And that, like, knowing that they'd all been there was the hope when I couldn't see light. Is there thought processes that you need to go through when you're flat that either stabilize you or ignite a fire that is quite dim at that time?
What I felt like you just spoke to was like the most pertinent part of a hero's journey. Like you spoke about The Rock, Lewis Howes, Tony Robbins. all these guys, like they've had monumental challenges or moments where they could have ended it. I always say, like, who's Batman? Like, would Batman be Batman if someone didn't kill his parents? You know, if he didn't have the worst thing happen to him as a young man, like this is, I know for me that those challenging moments are an invitation for my greatness to reveal itself.
Well, I don't know if this lands with you. I know you've done some rites of passage stuff as well. It's almost like it's the invitation for another initiation is often the way I think about it.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it. And I fall into the same boat as probably many who walk this initiatory path. Is you think that last initiation was going to be the hardest one. You're like, oh, I got the hardest one over. The next one's going to be easy. And bro, the next one's just as fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like self-talk, is one, you can fight fire with fire. I love that scene in Cool Runnings, where they go into the mirror and he's talking. He's like, now say this to yourself. And one thing that me and my little brother, we've run a few marathons and we have this saying, because we're from this small town called Worrall, we're just like, we're built fucking different out there, man. Like we're built fucking different, you and me. And once like that, like I could go run a marathon right now just by saying that. Another thing that I love to say to myself is, I'm that motherfucker. I am that motherfucker. Yeah. And it's like those things like give me power, bro. It's like, oh, you're going to be the anomaly. You're going to break through. You're going to show the world a part of you that you didn't even know existed.
Dude, I resonate so much. The evidence and the expanders gave me a level of hope. And for me, similar to you, there were 3 or 4 mottos at the time that I just had to keep coming back to that gave me a sense of hope. It's really interesting how similar our tools were at that time. You are very kind of open and public about your relationship, which I love seeing, and it's super insightful. And I find it quite sexy just as a bloke to bloke. Hope you don't mind. What role has that played in your, that and dating a partner who's in the space is also a gnarly initiation? How has she called you forward and what elements have evolved within you as part of the relationship?
I would still be working a 9 to 5, eating KFC, having a very simple fucking life, bro. If I never met Meg, I would be so basic. Like I'd be video games. I'd be playing video games. I'd be living in a townhouse. I'd be living such a simple fucking life. I would have, ignorance is bliss is what it would have been without her. And I say this from a place of full ownership and not bowing down and giving all my power away. But without her, I would not be the man I am today at all. And without women, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Like I've repeatedly had women step in at very powerful times and initiate me just through an invitation, like an initiatrix, so to speak. I would never have moved town if my girlfriend didn't break up with me and move overseas. Like she had to, and this is where I had to learn very much through women that I was having my decisions made for me. And similarly with Meg, about 6 months into the relationship, she called me out. She said, might have been a year in rather. She said, it seems like you're pretty content with where you're at. You don't really want anything else. And that's okay, but I want to go this way. I'm going this way and I want all of this. I want everything. She's like, if you'd like to come with me, I would love it to be you, but it doesn't have to be. So she kind of put everything on the table and said, listen, here's my chips, here's my cards. I'd love to go on this adventure with you. Would you like to come? And that was the first time I ever consciously chose, I believe, like that I can remember consciously choosing something from a place of I'm making this decision for me.
So what did that look like? Like, what did you have to step into? How did you have to reinvent yourself? What did you have to let go of? And what did you have to create?
I had to let go of my chameleon-like nature. So I grew up being the eldest of 4 children. I loved perceiving my value through doing things for others. So I created this whole idea that my worth was determined by how much I could do for everyone else. So that meant that no matter what, I would always choose family or someone else over myself. And when I chose in that moment, all of a sudden, every single thing on my calendar fucking collided. All the things that I had to do for my family that I didn't want to fucking do anymore landed on the things that I wanted to do with Meg. And it was like, there was this huge rewriting of my truth, because my truth really was family. And I still am very much a family man, but I have boundaries now. But okay, you're not going to go and do that, change that light bulb for your great aunt and spend your whole Saturday doing that. You're going to go and spend it cultivating, doing something weird down in Byron with Meg. I had to choose what I was moving toward. And Meg represented adventure. She represented a future family. She represented fun. She represented sex. She represented love. She represented all of these things that I truly wanted, but I was always choosing to put my family first, which meant that I was never choosing what I actually wanted.
So it's significant. And you've been in the men's space. It's a really interesting dynamic when the bloke, through idolizing or through mummy's boy or whatever, is still attached at the hip. What needed to shift? Was it conversations? Was it like taking your power back? Was it letting go of people pleasing? Was it really stepping into your, masculine? Was it cord cutting with your Like, what did that process look like for you?
All of it, man. It was everything. I just picked up everything that I could and ran with it. So like we spoke a little bit before the call, like plant medicine was a massive, massive awakening for me, which was beautiful. And that led me on the path of finding my power, reawakening my power. And a lot of that had to do with reclaiming my masculine core. I don't play into all this like Andrew Tate, all this highly polarizing shit on the internet. I respect it because it creates conversations and it gives some people need to hear the message in that tone. But for me, it doesn't resonate. I like a more centered approach. So I believe in polarity and I use masculine and feminine. I believe in those energies and I believe that they move the world in the way that it moves. And I've had very clear journeys with medicines that have shown me that. And there is a universal thing that polarity sits upon, but I have a masculine core. I know that. I do have feminine energy that moves through me, but I have a masculine core. I denied that core because of the way that I was brought up, because of what society told me, because men are pricks, men are bad, men are violent, men are useless pieces of shit, men are lazy. So I pushed my manhood away. And it had me playing the people pleaser, the passive nice guy, which is a really manipulative, simpy, like just a fucking wet, limp piece of shit, bro. It's such a, I look back and I love that version of me, but I also wish that he had someone to pull him out of that story a little earlier.
Yeah.
But all is well. I'm a fucking man now, and I can roll jiu-jitsu and fucking run marathons and climb trees and hunt animals and shit. But what I realized on that journey was, I had a very strong mother wound. I thought it was because my dad wasn't around enough, but it was actually the relationship that I had with my mom. And I got a pretty crazy story from an ayahuasca journey that is pretty, which I really like because it's a powerful metaphor for a lot of men. So if you're open to it, I'd be happy to share that as kind of like a way.
Well, mate, I'm doing some mother wound work at the moment, so again, our timing comes nice.
So I was in a journey and deeply going into this journey, and I'm just going to be transparent. And it was dark, feminine, sexual energy, man. Like there was like naked women with clown faces, and I was going through all the crazy visuals that some people talk about. I'd never had that on plant medicine. A lot of my plant medicine was very visceral, very body based, or very environment based, but this was a very visual journey. So I was getting all these crazy sadistic things done to me. And then this visualization eventually came to me, which was I was standing there and I had my hands and I looked up and then I looked down, and in my hand there was a revolver, like a stainless steel revolver. And I love guns, and I love Westerns. So I was like, oh, this feels familiar. And anyway, I opened the chamber. It was like a 6-shot revolver. I opened the chamber and there's one bullet in the chamber. Okay. I close it and I spin it and I cock it. And I'm like, okay, cool. The gun's ready to go. And I look up, and standing side by side is Meg, my lover, and my mum. And the voice is just like, pick one.
Fuck, man, that is gnarly.
And this is a visualization, right? So it's not real.
Yeah.
It's fucking real.
Yeah.
And this was more about me than it was about Meg or my mum, right? This is all about, this is my journey. So this is what I want. If anyone's listening, this isn't about me killing someone in the real world. This is about me making a choice, like a black and white fucking choice. And yeah, it was like, are you going to choose, essentially it was like, are you going to choose Meg? Are you going to put all your eggs in one basket and say Meg's the one, essentially? Because at the moment, you're not giving her all of you, you're holding back and staying connected to your mum. So what I had to do was like, I shot my mum in the head in the visualization and purged, cried, and felt the lightest I've ever fucking felt in my life. Came out feeling liberated. What that led me on a path was realizing how much my relationship with my mum was suffocating my life. And it was pretty brutal, man. Like the little while after that, I had some pretty hectic experiences of just feeling the lowest of lows and going through different processes to clear out some of these stories and this hatred and this anger and this pain.
So how does that look different now that you've cut the cord, so to speak, with your mum? Is there a different set of emotions when it comes to the relationship that you've got with her? Like, how does that look different and how does that feel different?
So after that happened, I then went to a men's retreat. But before that, I was feeling a lot of hatred and anger towards my mum. There was a lot of it, man. There was so much just boiling up and I couldn't even stand to answer her calls. And what I did was I was like, hey, mum, I need some space from you right now because I'm not really in a space to talk to you. I was like, I know it might not make any sense, but I'm setting a boundary. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk to you. Please don't contact me. That nearly fucking killed me doing that because I was always available to my mum, which then takes me back into my childhood of Jacob's always there for me. Jacob's always a good boy. And my mum used to call me Precious. And that name makes my hair like stand on end. I can't stand that name. And my mum would still call me that. And what happened after that was I went and I did a rage process and I literally went through the process of releasing that anger and clearing my body of it. And then I had a conversation with my mum a little while later. This was all in the span of 3 months. I also did a 5-MeO DMT journey where I went through the process of actually separating myself from her, which was really, really intense. That was very visceral, where I felt like I was literally stuck coming out of there was a feeling of being stuck coming out of my mum and having to actually force myself out of the womb and free myself from that feminine energy so I could cultivate it on my own. And then I had the clearing conversation with her where I opened up and told her everything that was causing me pain. And then I told her that these are my requirements for the relationship to continue. I want the relationship to continue, but if you can't meet these requirements, I can't continue to have a relationship with you. And I'm comfortable never speaking to you again if it means I have to choose myself. And that, I mean, I say that to you with such fluence, like that was quite fluent, but man, in the moment, I was a blubbering mess. It took me about nearly 2 hours to get that out, to get all of that out to her and share with her what was really going on. And it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it also gave me access to what I truly desire, which is a wife and a family. Before that, I was still very much a kid. I was still very much my mother's kid.
What did you notice about the shift in dynamics with you and Megs as you cut that cord, took back your power, and from what I'm hearing, probably stepped stronger into your masculine? How did you notice you shot different, Meg shot different, and your dynamic shift as a result of that?
Bro, I could make money. I could make a decision about where we're going to eat. I could tell her about what we were going to do when we were 70 years old. I could tell her about I joke because she hates cruises. I tell her about the European cruises where we're going to go on in our 60s. I could tell her all of these things because I believed that I could create that. Before that, man, it was like the next 3 months is all I can see. So it created this access to possibility. And it let me actually, for the first time, dream and vision and believe, and then share those with her. And it was crazy. It was crazy to bring that kind of energy to the relationship where she had for so long carried it.
You mentioned in there 5-MeO DMT, which I'm a big fan of. For those that are new to the world of psychedelics, what is that and what was that process like for you?
Oh man, it was a full day. So I spent the whole day with the facilitator going through like the 5 developmental stages, sound bath, therapy session, We did an animal therapy session as well with guinea pigs. Yeah, bro. And like I spent probably 8 hours dropping in fully before I'll have to send you a photo of that as well, bro. It's hilarious. But I spent eight or so hours dropping in before I actually sat with the medicine, which is a relatively short process.
Yeah, real short.
But its potency definitely makes up for the duration. That's for fucking sure. I had come from a solid couple of years, like many seasons of medicine work before I went into the 5-MeO session. I also knew exactly why I was going there. So at the time I had like 28 cents in my account. I was feeling horrible. This was around the same time all of that mother wound was coming up. So I went on the men's, I think I was going on the men's retreat. I was doing the 5-MeO. I'd done a few other ceremonies. So I was really in a season of just like obliteration. And yeah, man, when I got in there, it was very much I showed up. And one of our teachers, both Meg and I have worked with many times, she says, for you to really, really embrace the ceremony, you've got to own your 50%. And that really means about you can't just expect the medicine to do everything for you. You've got to show up and work with the medicine. So if you show up with 40%, the medicine's only going to show up 40%. And that's going to put you at 80, 30, 60. So when you own your 50, you create this 100% experience where you go, and no experience is wrong or right. They're all exactly as they're meant to be. But the more I've worked with medicines, the more I've worked with any modality, whether it's yoga, breathwork, ice baths, nature immersion, it is really got to do with my willingness and my embracing of the experience as well.
Which in and of itself, you speak about that casually, but it's significant. And as a breathwork facilitator, I see the growth and healing is directly proportionate to the depth in which you're willing. Like, you can't just fucking have a little kind of light breath here and there and expect to fucking heal your deeper stuff. Like, it's directly proportionate to the depth and the courage that you have to go to the darkest parts of your psyche.
Totally. 100%. And one of the things that I'm a very embodied facilitator, so I haven't done a lot of training. I actually haven't done any certifications. I don't really do science. Science and I get it. Like, I read that book Breath by James Nestor. Yeah. And it bored the fuck out of me. I enjoyed the bit where he says, run with your mouth closed. That was what I took. Run with your mouth closed and a bit about, and tape up your mouth when that's all I can remember. I'm not very good at storing like scientific information or understanding science. I'm a very body-based person, but I always say, trust your capacity and trust in the capacity of the part of the version of you that sits just outside the comfort zone. And that's what breathwork really is, man. It's like your willingness to meet that. Because I've done breathwork and I'm like, Jacob, that was not breathwork. You did that to try and fix your problems. You didn't do that to meet the thing that you want to actually fucking clear. You sat there and fucking breathed like it was fucking, yeah, I've done that and I've bypassed by going, and I haven't fully gone to where I needed to go. But that's what I think the medicine is a real beautiful catalyst for, is that it kind of doesn't give you a choice.
Dude, especially 5-MeO DMT, you're in for a fucking short time, but you're in for one hell of a fucking ride. So just to kind of speak to that, not necessarily your personal experience, but the experience of 5-MeO DMT, how does it work for those that have not heard of it?
Man, I've spoken to so many people and they've had such different experiences. For me, it's a short, sharp rocket ship to say g'day to God. Yeah. For me, it was like we were sitting in a room, we took the medicine, I breathed in, and then as I breathed out, it was like the whole universe went, and then I was gone.
I haven't tried all the medicines, but as far as I'm aware, with the medicines I've tried, it does not, you don't even have a chance to breathe out and you're fucking gone. Whereas the other ones, whether it's MDMA therapy, psilocybin, IR, like it's quite gradual. This one is like in its own fucking league. Yeah.
And it's like, I know now why sometimes people do this shit and change their name. Because what happened to me was I had to make a choice it was like all of my neural pathways were like brand new.
I love this
And
so much.
And I walked back home and I just like got home and started crying to Meg. I was like, how old was I? 30, 31. I might have been 31, bro. Just turned 31 or 30 or 31. And I remember saying to Meg, I was like, I have to choose everything that I want from my past that I want to bring with me now because I feel brand new. I feel like a newborn, which can be quite a terrifying thing without integration, right?
100%.
Which is why like integration is a massive part of my work and why I'm very, very tentative about plant medicine and ceremony and big, big explosive life-altering experiences. So for me, it took me probably a solid 3 months to calibrate what that meant. Because I was like, I don't even know if I want to be Jacob anymore. I don't even know if I want to be in this relationship. I don't know if I want to live on the Gold Coast. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. So I had to like literally ask myself, what do you want? What a great question though to ask yourself, right? What do you actually want? I don't know many other moments like that where I've had that freedom to just ask myself that with such clarity.
Well, I'd be interested in your experience as well, you know, as someone who regularly advocates plant medicine when and if the time's right for the individual. It can be quite terrifying for both the individual and the partner or the partners because it's going to reveal the truth to you, and there's no fucking hiding once you see that as well. So what truths has it revealed to you that you might have, you know, denied or that may have lain dormant, you know, in your system? What kind of truths has it brought light for, you know, when it comes to your world?
The first one is how much power I was giving to Meg. Meg and I have done most of our medicine work together. We did one of our first ceremonies together. She'd done one before. So we done most of our medicine work, bro, was done together. So we kind of had this beautiful experience alongside each other. So we had a lot of feedback loops and we had a lot of integration time and it was really great. But I realized just how much of my life was dictated by other people. It was so fucking clear. I never went on a holiday. I'd always just like jump on holidays with other people. Like someone else would be like, oh, I'm going to go here. Do you want to come? And I'd be like, yeah. Oh, we're going to go do this. Do you want to come? Yeah. Like I never instigated anything. I never fully like I didn't feel like a creator. I felt like I was just kind of like a strangler fig or like a leech or one of those like sucker fish that would just jump on the back and just sort of cruise along. And it showed me one of the harshest truths was that I feared responsibility massively, which is also a fear of failure. But I struggled so much with the idea of being responsible for others or for my own self as well. Like to take the lead, which is a masculine trait, right? If we're talking about like, you know, there is such thing as feminine leadership and that's nuanced, but yeah, masculine is really about that capacity to make decisions. And I realized that like pretty much from when I was 10 up until I was 25, I did not really make any of my own decisions. Everyone else was making decisions for me, whether it was my parents, my friends, my siblings. Like very rarely did I make any decisions that were truly my own. Yeah, man. And I just realized it just shone such a light on my perception of unworthiness, which is a hard pill to swallow.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, I'm sure you feel the same, having had so many journeys yourself. I have the utmost respect for anyone who wants to play in that space and open themselves up to plant medicine, because it'll just reveal the truth, many of the truths that you've hidden, and it's as fucking gnarly an initiation as any that's out there. So yeah, fair play to anyone. It's definitely not for everyone, and neither of us would advocate that it's for everyone. But yeah, if you want to play in that space, just prepare yourself for the truth, whether you like it or not.
And prepare yourself for the integration of that truth. Like a lot of people will act erratically afterward, will take like massive action in a way that may not be conducive. And I've seen people, you know, burn the house down because they've just acted from this place of massive openness. And I always, even with that, like I run retreats, I run lots of different things. And I say, you know, take the long way home, you know, take the scenic route, like let the plane land, like let the plane land. So integration time for me is just as important as the initiation. It's such an important piece. And quite often a lot of the modern society teaches us just to go back to back with things like, okay, I've done the medicine journey. Now I'll go back in and do this. We don't allow space to acknowledge or honor what we've just been through, like a medicine journey or a big breathwork journey, or even just like doing an inner child meditation can be fucking huge. Any point where your awareness is expanded, like you want to allow the integration time so that new structure that you've created, that expanded structure that you've created can set. I kind of think of it like cement. You gotta let it set. And that's been a massive, massive one for me, man. Like that truth of like actually letting things integrate.
Mate, you've got an event coming up and there's plenty of good work that you're doing. Where's the best spot for people to find you and your magic?
Over on Instagram, bro, at the Jacob O'Neill. Hit me up there. Or I love a bit of banter over on Facebook as well. Like I'm a bit old school as well. I love a bit of Facebook. We can have a convo in the comments. I throw up a few cheeky posts a week. So yeah, either Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, I'm currently receiving support from my OBM, my online business manager. She's helping me with building out a website and all of my assets that are sitting half baked in my Google Drive. So I'm really looking forward to having a much more firm and grounded presence online over the next 12 months, man. And that's, like I said, I know I've accessed a lot of shit through my journeys, through my life. And now it's come time for me to integrate them and actually be able to deliver them in a way that's healthy. So I'm looking forward to the next 12 months and beyond, man.
Awesome, brother. Good to connect. And yeah, I'll shoot you a message after to connect in person, which would be even better.
Hell yeah, bro.